Object for which we don't know most of its story, and we decided to use it because it's beautiful, and of course it's a telescope. It was built by John Adams. It was before 1756 because the door number in Fleet Street is not yet written, and if you want to see, it's on this ring here, the indications, and it's a Gregorian kind of telescope, so it's a reflective mirror, but with a view from the middle. We don't know how it came to Portugal. We don't know who ordered it. We know that he was in the king's cabinet. There was a king's cabinet in Lisbon, and when the king flew to Brazil, John VI, when the French troops from Napoleon got him, it was a canny thing. It just went away, so they couldn't force him to resign because he was in Brazil. So, anyway, he brought with him lots of things. Even parts of the plans of the building, of this building, from the architect, are now in Rio de Janeiro, because he took the papers with him, okay? And they stayed there. So lots of instruments also went with him. Other instruments stayed. We don't know if this instrument was already in the king's cabinet at that time or not. If it came later, we don't know. So it's still an open question. Very interesting about this object, for which we don't know lots of things about its history, but it's interrogating us every time we look at it. The size it has forces us to think about it.
This history dates back to the 16th century, when it was actually this part here was.
It was the dining hall where we've been. Part of the building was kept, and then they built this another college, which was also a Jesuit college. But when they transformed it to the hospital, they changed the whole structure and the facade. So it's end 19th century building. It has nothing to do with what it was before. But inside, no. The cloister is a beautiful cloister the building has, and it's going to be restored. The fact that the Department of Architecture is staying there, so the architects didn't want to make a new building. They decided to use an old building in 1755, which actually it was also a mentality earthquake in Europe, because people like Voltaire or Kant, they thought about that nature was not God's, not all nature was God's will, things happened, and with no purpose. This was very shaky to the mentalities. And the Prime Minister who did the restoration of the city of Lisbon, Paulo, he, years after, decided to make the renovation of the university. So he expelled the Jesuits and decided to install a new sciences. And so it was when the Faculty of Sciences was created. And we don't know why, but he decided to pick up professors from Padua, although they were physicists and good scientists in Portugal, for the physics were done here. And most likely this this table is from that time, because it's typical from the 18th century. But the College of Nobles opened and closed very soon after, because there was no students, not like nowadays. Nobles didn't want to learn, apparently. It was, you know, and the Prime Minister, Marquis Pombal, he was really, well, he didn't like that, so he decided to send the whole collection to Holmberg. And that is why his 18th century collection is very exquisite, because the objects were built with a certain art, because they were supposed to teach nobles. When he brought the students here, he would pick up some of the objects and tell stories about them. So he would concentrate the visit in 2 or 3 places. And then we decided to make a poll, to make an evaluation on what these students who were visiting the museum found interesting and what they did recall from visiting here and from visiting there. And to my surprise, about 30% recall more physics scanning. So 30% is much more than what I was expecting, I must say, because that is built to be more appealing. But I think they were really impressed by this place. And of course, what they did recall were also the stories that he told. So the objects that he remembered more were attached to the stories that he told. And this is really a nice, we did present this in a couple of conferences, some talks we've shown the data, because it's very interesting how we can, it's an interesting way of approaching an historical collection and making it come out from the cases where it cannot come, and of course you cannot touch. And this is something you have to understand, because it's the only way of preserving the objects is that you don't touch them. And of course, this message also has to pass. But of course, you want people to look Galileo's experiments or Archimedes' screw. There were a few outside.
These ones rolling in the wrong direction.
Yes. the Naturalistic Academy. We don't really know, but it's nice. It is nice. Yes, the space is nice, and we try to keep here a flavor of what would be the Naturalistic Academy from Vandelli. And afterwards. So most of the objects here are objects which were collected in the 18th century. Some objects, these came from Brazil in the 1780s by Weaire. These and that, and also the sloth. And these cases, well, apparently they are really very, very unique. It's about insects in order, and it was an exhibition was made by a girl who was working in the Natural Museum in Lisbon, and the exhibition was bought by the government, has been toured throughout several cities in the country, and is coming to Coimbra, and it's coming to the Natural History Gallery. This was part of an exhibition that we did, which was called Holmberg. Very few. Less than 30. For everything.
The people at the entrance.
Yes. And of course, the university is here, really here, Actually, the whole idea is to have a cafeteria so that this is a public area and you can profit from the Schuster even not paying to get into the museum. The whole idea is. Which was the father of Don Joseph, who was the king of the earthquake and of the building of the city of Lisbon and the university by the Marquis Pombal. So this king was his father, was the father of Joseph. and he got lots of money, gold coming from Brazil. So he could spend a lot of money, and actually he spent a little too much in some areas. But he made a beautiful monastery near Lisbon, in Mafra, which has a fantastic library also. And in the university they also made this library, which is a public library ever since. So it's a public library. And it was built to be a public library, and it's still a public library today.